Live from the NJ.com studio comes the only weekly TV podcast you'll need, where a lofty critic squares off with an obsessed superfan on everything from highbrow drama to lowbrow reality. The cocktail shaker is ready. Prepare for your TV hangover. Now, your hosts, Vicki Hyman and Erin Medley.
That's right. We're starting with a little bit of Jessie J here. Vicki, you're into this, right?
I am totally into it, but I was into her doing it live on the back lot. It's still a good song.
So this is TV Hangover Show. I'm your host, Erin Medley. I'm here with Vicki Hyman, my lovely co-host, and we are going to spend most of today's podcast talking about last night's Grease Live production on Fox. Vicki was in love with the opening.
I was.
As was I. I thought it was good. I thought the camera work was great, and she's like going in and out of the rooms.
It was just an example that you saw throughout the show of them not doing what NBC does, which is a static Broadway televised live musical, and really just breaking it wide open, and it absolutely worked.
It was enjoyable, but it wasn't as good as the movie.
Okay, well, it's never going to be as good as the movie. And I think Grease is very specific, that I don't think the Wiz Live really had the same issue, because the movie, the version of the Wiz was just pretty awful.
It was not. I think a lot of people were less familiar with the Wiz Live. I mean, with the Wiz, not the Wiz Live. And everyone is familiar with Grease, except Chrissy Teigen.
She doesn't know who
the model. Chrissy Teigen, the co-host of Lip Sync Battle, the wife of John Legend, has never seen the movie Grease.
That's impossible.
She tweeted out last night she's never even seen the movie Goonies, which is a whole other thing I can't even get into. She hasn't seen any movie prior to 1990, any popular movie.
She was in a cult.
It's crazy town. But Vicki, I don't want to start this off on a negative note, because I love the movie Grease, and I thought this musical did it justice. But my one pet peeve, I'm starting it out here, was that they did not properly do the hand jive.
I don't understand why this is such a thing for you.
It is a thing. It's part of the movie. Who doesn't know how to hand jive? Like, this is what they were doing. They were doing this. I don't know what this is.
Nobody can see what you're doing.
They can see me because we are on Periscope right now, and people can see that I am doing this hand thing, which is like, as our producer,
hot in here kind of thing, I guess.
I was like, I'm trying to cool myself off. No, they were doing this. The hand jive, the proper way to do it, and sorry, podcast listeners, if you can't see me, but on Periscope, this is for you guys. This is the hand jive.
Which is what we used to do in Jewish summer camp, by the way.
Okay, fine. But they didn't do that, and that was like my one major
I really
pet peeve.
think you missed the moments where they did. They did a little bit of it. Right before the sound cut out.
No, they did something called the new hand jive, and I know this is the case because I Googled it during the show, like, what the hell are they doing? And Fox put out a video like a few days before the broadcast showing the new hand jive. Why do we need a new hand jive?
We don't need to do it. Why do we need a Carly Rae Jepsen song added to this? I mean, there are a lot of questions.
Carly Rae Jepsen sang, "All I Need Is an Angel." And I'm with you. I don't think it was a song that we needed. I think the show, this is it. Yeah, okay. We're listening to it.
It was that memorable, I can't figure it out. Like, what is that music?
I mean, the show is 3 hours. It could have been 2 hours and 55 minutes had we not had the song.
And it was kind of like, it just smacked of like American Idol coronation song, very bland. And then it was juxtaposed with Beauty School Dropout, iconic song done by Boyz II Men very, very well. Right
instead of Frankie Avalon.
Instead of
God rest his soul. He's dead, right?
I don't know, actually.
He's not dead. Sorry, Frankie.
Let's start a rumor. The issue I had is that Frankie Avalon in the performance has a little bit of a bite, like, something about the hooker, like the way he was saying that Boyz II Men didn't quite have.
Right.
But it was very well done. And it just showed you like how useless that previous song was.
The whole time I was listening to All I Need Is an Angel, I was like, wait, are we not doing beauty school dropout. Like, I thought they weren't going to do it.
I think they were giving a lot of people a heart attack.
Close to it. And you know what? I will say this about Carly Rae. I think she did well as a Frenchie.
I agree.
The song, she didn't sound that great. But plug here, if you want to hear a really good pop album, listen to her album that she released last year. The name is escaping me right now, but it is so good. It is really, really good if you like 80s pop music.
Okay.
I'm just saying. Okay. It was the best album of the year. And
I cannot speak to this.
And you know I love Adele, but that Carly Rae Jepsen album was amazing. Another song that I don't recall because it wasn't in the movie, and I have a hard time remembering what's in the Broadway show, was Freddie My Love.
Oh, we looked it up. I don't think it was in the Broadway show, but it was on the the Grease movie cast album, which I know by heart. So I was really familiar with it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd never heard it. I don't have the Grease cast album. It was sang by Keke Palmer. Palmer. You didn't think it was, that great?
No, I love the staging of it, and I know she has a great voice, but I don't think it was that great of a vocal performance, but she carried it off because she has got just more charisma and like a little pinky than most of the cast. Well, shouldn't say that. Than maybe Julianne Hough has in her whole body.
We'll get to little Julianne. No, you know what? I will say that Kiki's performance as Marty was my least favorite.
I understand where you're coming from. Mm-hmm. I thought she was a bit over the top, but I think it was because we had such lackluster leads that I think they should have been more up to her. So she seemed a little out of it because she was like kind of over the top,
yes,
out there. And again, so much charisma in this performer. But I think that the problem was not that she necessarily should have toned it down, but everybody else should have brought it up.
Oh, you know who was really over the top? And I know we're talking about all of the supporting cast before we even get to the leads.
Principal McGee?
No,
I didn't like
what's her name? The popular cheerleader?
Oh, Patty Simcox.
Oh.
Well, they also upped the character a lot and gave her like a little romance with Eugene and not really sure why. Yeah.
You know what I was thinking? Because she reminds me of like a bunch of those really popular YouTube stars that you watch and you're like, why do kids like this person? Because I don't understand. She was kind of emulating those people imitating. And I did not get it. It was the one part of the show where I was just like, oh, we could use a little less Patty.
Another 5 minutes that could have been cut.
Yes. So look, now we're down to 250. We're going to get this show down to 230.
No problem, really.
Before the end of this podcast. So what was some of your other highlights, Vicki?
I loved Heather Donahue as Jan. I thought she was great. One of my favorite things, and what I thought the director, who is, I can't remember his name, but he's the guy behind Hamilton on Broadway.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I thought he did that was very clever was giving Duty the guitar and having him sing those magic changes, bridging over the scenes where Danny's character goes out for the various sports. And generally, I thought that the show sort of flagged whenever they weren't singing or dancing, so I thought that was really, really smart that you have just like little like comic pops with Danny, and then going back to the character to Duty singing the those magic changes, which I think was just on the jukebox in the movie.
Right. Now we're listening to it here. I think this kid has a great voice.
Oh my, amazing. Teen Idol. I mean, like, wow.
I don't even know who this kid is. Like, do you know the actor's name?
Yes, I had it in my story. Jordan Fisher, I believe.
Okay, well, Jordan Fisher has
a
huge career in his future. His voice was great. That was actually one of my favorite moments from the show as well. And I loved how they had the audience, which we will talk about.
Okay.
But I love how they had the audience there, and they were all like swaying and like swooning, and I thought that was really, really well done. While we're on the topic of the audience, what did you think? Now, unlike the other live broadcasts that we've seen, this is the first one where there was a live studio audience, and not only were they the studio audience, they were participants in the show.
in the pep rally, in the carnival, I guess, at the end.
Carnival, the cheerleader tryouts.
I am totally behind it.
Really?
I am. And I felt that was the one thing with The Wiz that was problematic, where there were like long stretches of time where they're talking and there's no audience there. Like, not that we need a laugh track. You know how I feel about laugh tracks.
Yes.
But there's just something about having people around you reacting to what you're doing. You're feeding off the energy of it that just elevates the whole performance, and I really liked what they did here. It wasn't distracting to me at all. There was like one point where I think you saw a background of the of the studio audience, and like one woman looked really bored, you know, and this was like, okay, that's not working. But I thought it was great.
I'm on the fence. I didn't think it was distracting the majority of the time, but there were some points where you could hear the audience like either laughing or clapping, especially in the beginning after Jessie J did her intro and the show was about to start, and then you see the T-Birds and they're about to go in and they go into the school and you can still hear people clapping outside. I thought that was a little distracting.
I had no problem with it.
You didn't have a problem with that?
No, I mean, it really gives the feel of being in a live performance.
Yeah.
Which you don't really get when you're watching these sort of staid NBC shows,
right?
The live musicals.
Now, a lot of people have been talking about the production quality of the show. It took place on a studio lot, so they had like 21 sets.
I was there.
Oh, that was the lot you were on?
Yeah, that was the lot I was on. 'Cause I told you I saw them. They were hanging out on one of the golf carts outside the soundstage, singing. You know, not the other one. The last song. The last song. Help me out here.
Oh, We'll Always Be Together.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, right. That's right. Okay, so they had like 21 sets. They were going back and forth on the little golf carts. I think that it's not an unfair advantage, but it's not the same as The Wiz or Sound of Music.
It's not. It is a development, a positive development. It is reinventing and making a live musical, like giving it its own purpose as opposed to just showing you a Broadway show on TV, which, and not to take anything away from The Wiz, which I thought had better performances overall.
Right.
And it was more powerful emotionally. And I think a more talented cast overall, especially with the leads. But it was just a musical that you're watching, and this showed you, like, this, you could do something else with this. I thought it was great.
I thought it was good. I mean, I really like the different sets now. Of course, this is only me. But I thought the set where they were in the, like, soda shop looked very much like the set from Saved by the Bell. Okay. Max's. Was that the name of the... You didn't watch Saved by the Bell?
It's a little young for me.
Look, even producer Andrew over here is giving me the thumbs up. It totally looked like Max's. The door was in the same spot. I was like, this is weird. And then also, another Saved by the Bell / Good Morning Miss Bliss reference was when they were in the gym. I was like, this is totally the gym from Good Morning Miss Bliss, which was the precursor to Saved by the Bell.
Okay, I have no idea what you're talking about.
See, this is where the TV superfan acknowledges the TV critic.
Wow, I've never even heard those words together.
Good Morning Miss Bliss?
I have no idea.
Oh my god.
There was a Saved by the Bell precursor.
Yes, with the whole different, well, not the entire cast wasn't different. There was still Zach and Screech, but there were other characters like Nikki. You have no idea.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, fine. But I'm just saying, if anyone agrees with me that the sets looked very familiar, you can tweet us at TV Hangover Show, at @E_meds, or at Vicki Hy. See how I just slid that in there?
Yes, it was very smooth.
Thank you. So a couple of other things that people on Twitter, speaking of Twitter, were talking about.
Erin Medley shorts?
No, what did I miss? Which part was that?
It was during the those magic changes where he's doing the athletic stuff. He's wearing like shorts. People really got into that.
Wow. All right, let's talk about, well, I was going to talk about something else, but let's talk about Erin Tveit and Julianne Hough.
Okay,
our lead
can we have our
characters.
sad trombone music?
I thought he was better than she was.
He was better than she was
Okay.
because he could also sing as well as dance.
I don't think her singing was terrible.
It wasn't terrible. It's just if you're going to be taking over Olivia Newton-John's role, you better have a better voice than that.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
I would say there are parts where I wanted her vocals to be stronger, but I didn't expect much, so it didn't disappoint me. So, you know.
Well, actually, the one thing I will give Julianne Hough credit for over Erin Tveit is, you know, she looked the part, and she had like the same sweetness and everything. You could believe her as Sandy, whereas he had no bad boy about him whatsoever. I was not buying what he was selling, even in those shorts. No, there was no menace whatsoever. There was no, you know, Travolta was like, you know, I mean, he wasn't scary, but like he was a bad boy in the show.
Right.
You know, you could picture him having sex. You cannot picture Erin Tveit having sex.
Untrue.
Sorry.
And I think that people on Twitter who really enjoyed Erin Tveit's shorts would disagree.
Okay.
There were some audio issues when Julianne Hough was singing Hopelessly Devoted to You, which I was holding my breath for the whole show. Like,
later in the musical than it was in the show.
Way later. And their audio track was a little off. It has static. But she sang through it. Yeah. I have a question for you.
Okay.
I'm going to start the controversy. There was a point in the program where I thought to myself, are they really singing live? And there were some people who I was like, yeah, they're like Boyz II Men, totally singing live. Carly Rae Jepsen on that song where she sounds terrible, absolutely singing live. There were some other parts where I was like, I don't know.
They might have had like just in case kind of tracks ready. I think Keke Palmer was singing live because I know she has a better voice than that. Yeah. I mean, there were some moments where they're running around too much, or, you know, they added it in, but it didn't make me like, no, this is wrong.
I dislike it because a lot of people sing the track, and that's not an issue. But at the end, when they were singing, oh my God! See, now I'm forgetting the song that you mentioned, and then the second to last song.
Oh my God!
You're the one that I want. When they were singing, "You're the one that I want," they were running around that gym like crazy people, but their vocals were good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, maybe Julianne Hough. She's a dancer. She has great stamina. She knows how to breathe and sing and all that. But then I was like, oh, it just sounds too good. Even J-Lo has a little bit of a when she's singing.
But it bothered you?
It didn't bother me, but it took me out of the moment because I'm thinking this is live. Like, if we're going to do it live, let's do it live.
I didn't really have an issue with it, and I was really, really on board by the end of the show.
You were bored?
No, on board.
Oh,
it grew through. I mean, like it was like height of Jessie J, and then sort of like, and then it was like by the end, I was. We go together. I was like dancing in my seat. I was so into it.
I was into the finale too. I thought that was really good, and I love that they took it outside because at first I was like, "Oh, the carnival scene should be outside."
And it's in the gym, and you're like,
and
but then they brought it outside. I was like, "Wow!"
That's when they got in the carts and they almost killed Bunk.
Oh my God!
They almost killed Wendell Pierce.
I watched that like 4 times. Like, oh my God, he went right over the curb. I was thinking they're singing and dancing in the cars. Like, how did they sign off on this? How did they not have like a professional driver driving them?
I don't know.
Danny was driving while he's singing it.
Yes. I thought the same thing, but then at the end when they have the overhead scene of the carts pulling up to the carnival, you can see like a PA like stopping the cart after they've all like gotten out of the cart. So there may have been some sort of production magic going on there. But no, I thought the finale scene was great. And I really loved them taking a bow. Like, that's always my favorite part when I go to a Broadway show, is to see the people say, I don't know why. I was like, oh, look, they're taking bows. I thought that was really cute and well done. What about our girl, Vanessa Hudgens, as Rizzo?
Okay. It's a problem because I think out of anybody in the show, Stockard Channing is the Stockard Channing performance of Rizzo is, I think, almost more iconic than John. It's a better part certainly than Sandy. Right. And we all know that Vanessa Hudgens' father died on Saturday, and that is awful. And so quite frankly, it's like she could have done really badly, and I would have been like, okay, fine, I'm going to give you a pass. Right. And I was kind of ready to give her a pass because she wasn't bringing the bite, the acid that Stockard Channing's character, Stockard Channing did in the movie. But one of my favorite songs in the show is There Are Worse Things I Could Do, and I thought she nailed it.
I thought she did a great job on that song as well. And that's a favorite song in the movie. And I'm looking at producer Andrew
so he can cue it.
So he can play us some. Okay, fine. Well, we don't have that one, but we do have "Look at Me, I'm Sandra D."
Yeah.
All right, let's play that instead. No, I didn't dislike her performance at all. I thought she was trying her best.
Yeah.
To live up to, like you said, an
But
iconic
it's like it's really, really hard. She had I think
hard.
a bigger. I mean, maybe Erin and Danny was also like a really big leap, but
Right.
I mean, degree of difficulty for playing Rizzo.
I agree. I thought she did a good job. And you know who else I thought did a good job, randomly enough? Carlos Penavega.
Who was
He played Kaneki.
Oh, I disagree completely.
Oh, really?
Not that I thought he did a bad job. I just thought Kanicki's character ended up being like a
caricature?
a non-entity. He was there in Grease Lightning, but quite frankly, I had a hard time because they all had dark hair as opposed, I had a hard time telling them apart. Like, okay, who's this guy saying, oh, that's Kanicki? Oh, that's Sonny? I thought he was a non-entity.
I did not have a hard time telling them apart. Vicky.
What?
Vicky, you have a hard time telling, like, two people who look completely different.
That's not, well, that's true.
I mean, that is
that has
like
been well documented.
John
Okay.
Singleton, the other John.
Stop.
Fine.
But no, I didn't think that I think somebody pointed out, I think maybe it was our producer Anthony, that the show seemed to make much more of the Rizzo-Danny backstory than the movie did. And so I think that's one of the things that Kanicki sort of like
pushed him
to the side some more.
Yeah, I guess they were trying to explain to the audience, I don't know who they were trying to explain it to, but explain it to the three people, including Chrissy Teigen, who've never seen the movie, why Rizzo and Sandy would have that little bit of conflict. I guess that's why they played it up so much.
Although it never really went anywhere, and in the end, there was something new that the movie did not have, which is that Sandy stands up for Rizzo when the other girls, including Patty Simcox, are basically making fun of her for being pregnant.
Right.
Which I thought was a nice moment that led into Rizzo's signature song.
Yes.
Which we do not have audio of.
What's the song again?
There are worse things I could do.
There are worse things I could do.
I can't sing it. I'm sorry.
Something,
and flirt with a boy or two.
Yes. The one thing that I wanted to bring up was on Twitter, there was a huge backlash over Mario Lopez.
Mario Lopez, yes.
Appearances on the show.
I actually didn't have much of a problem with him as in the Vince Fontaine, but it's like, who's like the hosting thing? Again, 5 more minutes we could take out.
Oh, no, that was like 10. Let's take out 10 minutes, okay? So now we're at 2:40. We're at 2:40. But let's take a listen to this moment between Mario Lopez's Vince Fontaine and Keke Palmer's Marty.
Good golly, Miss Molly. Is this my usual makeup?
Mr. Fontaine.
Oh, thank God we're not in color. What do you want? I mean, that's my name. What's your game, honey?
Vince, you want a lighter
Beat
sheet?
it.
Friend of mine wanted me to ask you the name of the cameraman.
Oh. Waiting for her big close-up, is she?
He was so terrible. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's not much of a part.
I know, but even for...
Okay, I can use this to talk about something else that did bother me about the show.
All right.
The movie did something really smart, and they cast former teen idols and screen legends like Eve Arden and Sid Caesar in roles of the adults, the coach, the principal, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And they sort of did the same thing here when they cast Dee Conn, the original Frenchie, as Violet, Vi, the waitress. Mm-hmm. The original Duty was in the cast as the National Bandstand producer. I liked Eve Plum as Jan Brady.
Well, she wasn't as Jan.
Well, no, I'm sorry, as Ms. Murdoch. We know her as Marsha Jan Brady.
Yes,
but I thought that they really missed some opportunities in more. I don't know why I call it some casting because they were all very good. Mm-hmm. But I think they could have cast somebody else in the Vince Fontaine role. Yeah. And I was really kind of
you
like...
don't think Mario Lopez was a teen idol?
No. I mean, he was, but no, wrong era.
I think, you mean like
70s teen idol. I think that's what they should have done. Because Grease went back to the 50s and brought them into the 70s. We should have stuck with the 70s and brought them into the 2010s.
But let me tell you something, Vicky. Kids nowadays, they don't care... but listen, they don't care as much about who was famous 20 years ago as like we did when we were younger. Like they're not exposed to that, so they don't
But Mario Lopez is kind of so ubiquitous. There wasn't anything special about him being in the role. And let me tell you, so I think another missed opportunity, and as much as I love Wendell Pierce, let me go on the record, Wendell Pierce, star of The Wire, star of Tremaine, I love you, Wendell Pierce. But I was like, what is he doing here?
I did also think, what is Wendell Pierce doing here? I agree with you on that one. But you missed one teen idol that they had in the show, and you probably didn't even notice.
Joe Jonas?
Yeah.
Oh, whatever.
Well, that's
okay. Fine.
That whole group that was one thing that took me out of the era, because his group DNCE.
I don't even know. Kids these days.
Yeah, exactly.
One of them had a mohawk.
There was
yeah.
And I was like, couldn't they put a hat on that kid? Like, they totally took me out of the era that we were supposed to be in. I was like, no one had a mohawk in, where were we, the 50s?
The 59,
yeah. Like, no.
Yeah. I didn't have a problem with Joe Jonas being, like, I don't think you have to go back and get some, like, flock of seagulls or anything like that. I don't know. The remaining BG. But actually, that kind of would have been good. There's one of them still alive, right?
One BG.
Barry Gibb, I think, is still alive. But yeah, I didn't have a problem with Jonah, but it was like the mohawk. And then there was a guy who was wearing sort of like a Hasidic hat in the back. And I'm like, what's the Hasidic guy doing?
I don't know.
On the show.
It was interesting. One clip that I want to play for you is, I felt like there were a couple of moments in the show that I don't recall from the movie where they were winking at the audience like, hey, we know we're live. And I just thought they were really corny. So here goes one right here.
Blanche, this is Mr. Weaver. He's a producer for Vince Fontaine's National Bandstand television program. He's making a surprise visit to all of the high schools being considered for a live broadcast.
A live broadcast? How exciting! Oh, but what if something goes wrong?
Oh, well, that doesn't matter. The television audience is pretty forgiving.
I mean... TV audience.
I didn't like Blanche and Principal McGee anyway.
Also, Blanche was supposed to be playing the wrong notes on the xylophone, and she played the right notes every time.
No, not every time. There was one. I think it was actually there was one point that, remember, I think the joke with her bra underneath the bleachers. I think there she played it wrong.
Okay.
There was also another joke. I think it was during the hand jive, the dance scene where. At some point, Julianne Hough, the Sandy, talks about, who would watch amateurs dance? Ho, 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 Dancing with the Stars. I was like, okay.
There was another one. So there were at least 3 inside jokes, and I was like, look, we could have shaved
another minute. Yeah.
A minute, so now we're down to 2:39. Look, that last 9 minutes, I'm sure we can find somewhere. What did you think about the whole... all of the dancing that went into the show? We had the cheerleader tryouts,
which we've already discussed. We could have gotten rid of that.
Yes.
It was cute, but we could have gotten rid of it.
Unnecessary. We had, obviously the American, or not National Bandstand, not American Bandstand. Yeah. The dancing there. There was a lot of dancing during Grease Lightning.
Yes, I like Grease Lightning.
I loved it.
Yeah, I did not have... even though they changed the lyrics, which mostly worked, except for Dragon Wagon, which was stupid. I'm sorry. But I thought I actually went back and watched the original clip of this, and the dancing was so much better. It was
really,
really well choreographed. In this show,
yeah.
And I love the way they transformed the garage, and I'm amazed that they managed to swap out those cars so quickly. I was amazed by it.
That was what I was thinking the whole time.
Where did it go?
I was like, wait, is it on wheels? Like, do they have someone pushing it? What? This is like 15 seconds they have. They pan over here, and then you go back, and there's a new car.
And they did it again when they replaced it with a white car.
Yes, it was very impressive.
Yeah,
very impressive.
I thought it was really good.
You know what was not that great?
What?
The racing scene.
Oh, I agree completely. You can't do a drag race on a soundstage. And it was, but they tried too hard. I didn't like the jerky camera motions. I absolutely hated the camera in the steering wheel point of view, which was ridiculous looking. It looked fake and cheap and ridiculous. And it was really a low point for the production. It was like the only really big ding I'm going to give it.
I agree. I do think that was a low point for the production, because overall the production was great. What did you think about making Duty an honorary T-Bird?
Eugene.
Oh wait, Eugene. Sorry,
Eugene.
wrong
Yeah.
character.
Well, they certainly they sprinkled it throughout the show, and so
Right.
it sort of built up. But again, didn't need that whole subplot, in my opinion.
Ooh,
But I didn't have a problem with it, like, per
Can we take
se.
off like 4 minutes for that one?
Yeah, probably all together, all
Altogether.
told, like bullying him over the rocket thing.
Oh,
Although,
right.
it's like, and of course, Danny, good old Danny stops the bullying.
Kind of.
Bullying back.
Yes. So now we're down to 235. 235. All right, I'm going to ask you for your grade on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst. Where would you rank Grease? Not comparing it to anything else. Just on its own.
I'd rank it an 8.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
give it a 7.
Okay.
I think it was pretty good. Now, let's compare it to Sound of... We're going to rank here.
Oh, my goodness.
Sound of Music, Peter Pan, The Wiz, and Grease. Rank them.
Okay. Me 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 being the best.
Correct.
I'm going to give it to Grease, The Wiz, and it's really hard between Sound of Music and Peter Pan.
Is it, though?
I would guess Sound of Music and then Peter Pan, and I'm really giving the edge to Sound of Music because I just like the musical better. I think Peter Pan was a more interesting staging and more ambitious, but I just don't like the musical that much.
I agree with you completely. That is the exact same order that I would rank them. Now, we don't have any live musicals on the slate right now.
That's not true.
Wait, we
the
do?
Passion. They said something about like a live staging of the Passion. It was a commercial, so I was kind of fast forwarding through it.
What's the Passion?
It's something coming on, I guess, around Easter. Some sort of
the Passion of the Christ?
No.
I was like, what are we talking about?
not Lee Daniels. I'm doing it again. I'm doing
my
it
God.
again.
Are you confusing
I'm
black
just,
directors?
Yes, I am. I'm
Oh,
just shutting
God.
up now. I think there's something else happening. That's all I'm saying. But no, they're doing, and then NBC's got Hairspray in December.
Oh, yeah, but December, that's so far away.
No, there's something happening with the Passion. I started the show an hour late because I was somewhere else. I knew it was started at 7, but I was just somewhere else.
I didn't know it started at 7.
Well, I had a DVR and I had to tape it, so.
All right.
Yeah.
Luckily, I DVR'd it, and I was like, oh, I missed Real Housewives of Atlanta for this show.
Oh, my goodness.
What can I do?
But I still only ended maybe because I got as fast forward through all the commercials. I ended 30 minutes after it started.
I ended right away. I ended same time.
And
I'm really good at
you
catching
must
up because I fast forwarded through
a
that
couple
Carly
of
Rae
things.
Jepsen song and The Passion, according to producer Andrew, is a live musical about Jesus from New Orleans, and it airs on March 20th. So I wasn't that far off.
No. And I still can't think of who the person was.
Oh, well. We'll look it up. So any final words on Grease Live?
I think we pretty much covered it. I think my final word is that they took the static live musical and did something different and creative and wonderful with it. And I loved the interplay with the audience, particularly in the beginning and the end. Was not bothered by the live audience at all and thought that NBC should really look into that.
I was going to say, do you think that now Fox has thrown down the challenge?
Well, I mean,
to
Hairspray
NBC?
is actually a very good show to do something similar with
true.
because there are audiences in Hairspray as well. So
and
I
there
hope
are
they do.
outdoor scenes.
There are. I hope they do something like this.
All right. Well, we'll see if NBC accepts Fox's challenge.
Yes.
But the other thing we'll have to keep an eye out for, and we can talk about it on next week's podcast, is the ratings.
Yes, because
they're
they'll come out very shortly.
Right.
I think actually they did well. From the amount of people I saw talking about, the amount of pre-press,
Right.
I think it probably did pretty well.
And there was nothing else on.
That's true, too.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So they didn't have any competition.
Oh, maybe Andrew knows what the ratings are.
12.2 million.
Oh, that's better than The Wiz.
Yes, but not as good as The Sound of Music.
No, but The Sound of Music was
Yeah.
That was
the
such an
first
event.
one.
That was the first one.
Right.
That is really good. Fox should be very happy with
Yeah,
that.
12.2 on a Sunday is not bad at all.
No.
The other thing that I want to talk about this week, premiering on February 2nd, so that's
Tomorrow.
if you're listening to this podcast on Monday, is The People versus O.J. Simpson, American Crime Story on FX. So you and I have both watched...
I watched 4.5 episodes. You watched
I watched
6.
all 6 of
That
the
were given to
screeners
us ahead
that
of
were
time.
given ahead of time. And I know that your initial thoughts on the show were that it was like a TV movie, and then you turned around.
Yes, I ended up watching more, and the more I watched, first of all, I think it was a weird tone. It was like a lot of things together, and then as I kept watching, I was like in my 20s when this was happening. I remember it fairly well, and I was like, yeah, that's actually what it was like. So I wasn't as bothered by it, but I did think it got much better after it got past, like, okay, we have to show the Bronco chase. I wasn't as interested in like the behind the scenes of what was going on with OJ as the behind the scenes of the legal battles that were going on inside the conference rooms, and the battles between F. Lee Bailey and Robert Shapiro and Johnny Cochran. Courtney Vance is amazing.
He's so good. If he doesn't get nominated for something.
Absolutely. He was, and also the interplay between him and the Christopher Darden, which was something that I really did not know
because
about.
I forgot. Either I forgot or I didn't know that they had worked together previously, and they had a relationship that was friendly, and then it wasn't friendly.
Yeah, and then that is telling us something we really didn't. I mean, like, I think when they're showing the Bronco chase, it's really just, this is what it was like. We all remember it. It wasn't that interesting to me. But I thought the legal stuff was fascinating.
I think the legal stuff is fascinating. And like you said, we get to see both sides, the prosecution and the defense. And, you learn that Robert Shapiro did not get along with the rest of the legal team
was
because
sidelined.
He was self-serving, according to this account. And I would assume, according to most people, since it seems like this is a pretty accurate and well-researched account of the whole thing. And then you get to see the personal side of Marcia Clark, who is the prosecutor, the lead prosecutor, and her relationship with Chris Darden. And you see that relationship between the two of them grow as the series progresses. And that's actually one of my favorite parts of the whole miniseries, is that relationship. Although, and none of this is spoiler because, we all know.
Wait, we know like, there was a verdict.
We know what happens. But I think, and you tell me if you haven't watched as much as I have, but I think that they're alluding to the fact that maybe there was a relationship between Marcia and Chris.
I haven't gotten that far yet, so I have not picked up on that.
All right, well, I picked up on it. I'm just like, either there's really, really, really close coworkers, like Anthony and Vicki here, or there's something more going on. And I think that's interesting. But you're right. Courtney B. Vance as Johnny Cochran is like watching a master at work. He's so good in that role.
The scene that absolutely kills me, and I really want to know. I was like actually trying to find a copy of the Jeffrey Toobin book to see if it was in this book. There is a moment where Christopher Darden has this big. He's trying to stop Judge Ito from allowing them to use the N-word in court, and is talking about how it's going to prejudice the people. It'll be a very bad thing. And then Johnny Cochran gets up and just tears Christopher Darden apart and says, I can't believe that this man would think that black jurors do not have the wherewithal to be able to handle, the use of this word, blah, blah, blah. And at the very end, he turns to Christopher Darden and under his breath says, "Nigga, please." And I was just like, oh my God, did that happen?
And we excuse Vicki for her use of the N-word.
It was the Nigga.
Same word, Vicki.
Sorry. I'm quoting it. I'm quoting the show. Quoting the show.
She can't tell black people apart, and she used the
Stop
N-word.
it! Not true. I can't tell white people apart too.
That's true. Oh, speaking of black people, your favorite director, John Singleton, directed the episode that you're referring to right now. I think it's called like the race car.
How red am I right now?
You're very red, and yes,
you make me feel very bad.
Don't feel badly. It's okay. It's all right, Vicki.
My white guilt is showing.
I know. I forgive you.
Thank you. As an African American.
Sorry, to be clear. Yes, as a black person in the room. I think overall, well done, the miniseries. I'm kind of bummed that I'm through the 6 screener episodes, which I think takes me through the middle of March.
I know.
So then I have to remember.
You're going to have my problem that I always have, which is that I watch like 4 or 5 episodes and then I'm good and then I forget the show's on and then I've missed 2 episodes and then I don't watch anymore and then Anthony yells at me for not finishing a show that I like.
I'm going to have to put it on my DVR because I really do want to finish watching the whole series. I think it's fascinating for a story that we all know so well. There are still moments where you're like, wow, I didn't know that. And I think overall what you come to realize is that there were some really bad decisions made by the prosecution and some really good lawyering by Johnny Cochran, which resulted in the verdict that, O.J. received.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take a stand on whether he did it or not, but it definitely takes a stand as to why the verdict happened the way it did.
Absolutely, because if you look at the case as a whole and all of the evidence that the prosecution had, and they say this throughout the show, there's no way we can't get a conviction. You start to think, like, there's no way they can't get a conviction, and then they start making all these mistakes, and it's like, oh, all right, well, now I see why.
Yeah.
So that is The People versus O.J. Simpson, American Crime Story. By the way, not American Crime Story, The People versus O.J. Simpson, I learned.
No.
Okay.
Very frustrating. And not American Crime.
And not American Crime.
And not, I think there's another O.J. movie coming out. Maybe ESPN is doing it. Yeah. Pretty soon. Is it a 30 for 30, Andrew?
Oh,
yeah.
I love 30 for 30.
Yeah.
Such a
And
good
that's coming out like the
series.
next 2 months, maybe?
Well, I'll be watching.
Yeah, sorry.
I'll be watching that. So, Vicki, that's going to do it for this week's TV Hangover. So many great things that we talked about today. TV is back in an upswing, in my opinion, and I can't wait for all of our Shonda shows to come back.
Oh, we still have like a month and a half.
I know.
Actually, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of The Catch, which is the one I'm really excited about.
Me too.
That's not till March, but I think the other shows come back
in
this
February.
month. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're in February right now. So, so we'll have a lot more to talk about on TV Hangover. Don't forget to follow us on iTunes, review us, rate us, share with your friends. We're on TuneIn, Spreaker, so many places. That will do it for today.